So if you think about like go-to-market sits up here, and under go-to-market is often outbounds and inbounds that you're dealing with, right? So go-to-network sits up here as an adjacent piece of go-to-market, and underneath go-to-network is Nearbound, which is this new kind of play, or at least the new definition of a play. And all it really means is you're utilizing relationships to break into new accounts or to influence accounts that you're already in discussions with. And that in and of itself is not new at all. You know, especially enterprise sellers have been doing that, you know, forever, right? But what's happened is that enterprise kind of relationship model has slid down into mid-market, into SMB, even into almost transactional local selling because of a few reasons. The first reason is all the data in the world shows that cold calling and cold emailing are less effective today than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and 20 years ago. It doesn't mean they're dead. It doesn't mean anybody should stop doing them. It just means that they don't work as well. And when something doesn't work as well, we try to find alternatives that pick up the pace, pick up the slack, right? So the traditional outbound strategies are not working as well. It's undeniable, right? Then there is human behavior, which has changed, right? If you think about your stepson and my kids, right? When was the last time you saw them talk on the phone to anybody? They don't use the telephone.
Yeah.
When was the last time you heard them talking about emailing friends, family, coaches, teachers even? They don't email anybody, right? So you think about us, I'm 46 years old. I don't know how old you are, but you know, when I was growing up, if the phone rang in the house, it was like an event. Yeah. Everybody would run to the phone and be like, who's it for? Da, da, da. You know, it's like exciting or whatever. Now, all of us have our phone with the ringer off basically 24/7 because we think it's a distraction. So we just don't view these modes of communication the same way. And so we talk on the phone less. Same thing with email. When you first, you know, got into email, you're reading every email. You thought everything was interesting. Now we're jaded and we think that 90% of the stuff in our inbox is spam or somebody trying to sell us something that we don't need. So in a world where cold calling and cold emailing a 46-year-old person doesn't work as well as it used to. Now imagine that world 5-10 years from now when our teenagers are executives or have founded their own companies. Do you think that my teenage sons are going to cold call somebody or pick up cold calls from total strangers? This concept makes absolutely no sense to them. So human behavior, you know, has changed. And so out of that arises this go-to-network kind of near-bound motion where you're finding a trusted source to make an introduction to somebody that you want to talk to. So the weirdness, the awkwardness, the spook is all gone, right? So practically, let's say I want to reach Richard Harris and I don't know Richard Harris, okay? But I know you. And I know you know Richard Harris because I saw that he was on your podcast the other day. So I reach out to you and say, hey, Jorge, I'm trying to get a hold of this guy, Richard. Here's what we do, the problem that we solve. I don't know if he has this problem, but on the surface, it looks like he does. Do you know him well enough to see if he's open to having a conversation with me? And you're like, well, yeah, I trust Scott. He's a good guy. Product looks pretty good. I know Richard. Let me just see what Richard thinks. So you go to Richard and you say, hey, my buddy Scott wants to talk to you. I can vouch for him. He's not going to waste your time. I don't know if you have this problem or not, but this is what they solve. Are you interested in taking the meeting? Richard is over here going, okay, well, I know Jorge. I trust him. He's not going to waste my time. He gets along with this guy, Scott.
I hope you trust me, Richard. I love you, brother.
Richard goes, I actually do have this problem. Sure, I'll take the call. So you have now brokered a meeting between Richard and I. Richard didn't have to have his day interrupted by a total stranger. I didn't have to interrupt a total stranger's day. So it's a calm, process. We've both opted into this process. There's inherent trust there already. And now if he does buy, what I do as the seller is I kick you back for making the intro. I pay you 10%, 20%, 30%, whatever it is. I compensate you for making that intro. That's practically how the Nearbound play works.